Tryhards, it's Mad Buddha back again. This time we're going to be taking a deeper look at Tomb of the Spider Queen. Spider Queen is a very short and very long 3-lane map. It almost plays like a 2-lane map because it's so close together. 4 mercenary camps, 2 night camps, one on the left side and one on the right side, both of which push down the middle lane. Giant camp at the bottom, which pushes down to the bottom lane. Boss camp at the top, which pushes down to the top lane. This map's Tomb of the Spider Queen's map mechanic does not have a timer. It is always available. Gems will summon web weavers. Turn-in costs 50 gems for a team, and each subsequent turn-in costs 5 more than the previous turn-in, and carry up to a maximum of 100 gems at a time. Play Tomb of the Spider Queen. Turn in early and often. Have a small amount of coins, like 2 or 3. Getting those coins in when you know you can get them in will add up incrementally over time. Remember, you have to get in 50 gems, but once you get those gems in, they're in for good. This means that it can be very risky to do the other strategy, which is to walk around and hoard gems on your characters and then try and turn them in all at once. Because when you die, gems fall back onto the ground, there's the possibility that you either die so far away from the team that your team cannot pick up your gems, or the other team can zone your team off those gems, meaning that you lose significantly more when you hoard coins. Characters that have invisibility or are tanks are usually great for hoarding coins, as they're very hard to track or take down. This means that they have an easier time of sneaking in large numbers of coins by themselves, team to summon web weavers. Turning in gems is stopping gem turn-ins. Certain characters on this map are particularly good because they have poke. One of the characters you see frequently on Tomb of the Spider Queen is Greymane, because he's so good at controlling turn-in points against enemy teams. Gems have to be channeled for a time before they are turned into the cocoons. Have the ability to stand at a very safe range, deny enemy turn-ins at the same time. Certain teams can have extreme trouble turning in and often force fights that are unfavorable for the team that is trying to get their gems in under poke. Understand more about this, the terrain surrounding the 2 gem turn-in points, to understand how poke plays a necessary role in Tomb of the Spider Queen, and how to teamfight around these areas. With the top gem turn-in. The top gem turn-in is the easier of the 2 to fight around, and also the easier of the 2 to poke off enemies from. This turn-in are on the side of the turn-in, being top and bottom. That means that a team that wishes to poke off an enemy team can get control of these vents by pushing the adjacent lane so that they have lane control, and then getting into the vents with their poke targets. Have vision control of the top or bottom side vent, and that allows them to see the entirety gem turn-in area. Chokes on this point are very wide. Even though they are chokes, there's lots of room to maneuver inside of them, meaning that even if your team cannot get access to one of the vents to poke from, you should have a very easy time poking from one of these open chokes without risking too much of your safety. Side of the chokes and into the gem area, don't be tricked into the illusion that you are fighting in an open space. Because the gem turn-in itself counts as terrain, this is actually one giant ring-like choke, meaning that AoE is extremely powerful and there's not a lot of room to work with. Characters who require room usually are very bad picks for Tomb of the Spider Queen. For example, I would not suggest picking Tracer. Moving on with looking at the terrain around the turn-in points, let's move down to bottom side turn-in. This turn-in is significantly more tricky to maneuver inside of, and is also significantly more dangerous. This is why most of the fighting in professional matches happens around the topside turn-in. This turn-in, however, is still very important to understand the intricacies of. Notice how there are vents on the left and right sides, and these vents are easily accessible to the teams on which side they are on. Because they are so easily accessible, it's easy for a team to set up a pick bush in one of these 2 vents, making it very dangerous for any team trying to turn in to walk onto the enemy's side. Top functions as the smallest choke in the game, 1 character across, and here, meaning that getting control of this vent is nearly impossible and very hard. The first team to get in this vent almost always can thwart an enemy from walking through one of these two areas without being clearly in vision, meaning that controls this vent can theoretically set up to control the entire point. Small chokes here and here. These chokes from the sides are the chokes that you will usually try and poke off with if you picked poke characters like Greymane or Crowmane. This is because you will have an easy time getting here, getting vision of the point, and finding your targets. However, these chokes also function as a double-edged sword. Because you can be seen from these choke points, unlike the vents right beneath them, characters can easily assess where you are coming from and zone you off at the point. This makes it so that any team assailing this point has to come in with effectively more than one person. One person has to get vision and one person has to poke. Look at the bottom side choke points, and also this vent in the middle. These points are great, however, you need to have lane control in order to use them. And unlike the one vent of the top side turn-in point, because there are two chokes, one on the left and one on the right, the team that has lane control does not necessarily control the entire bottom side. If they only fight from here with lane control, they're going to find themselves still yielding the other side choke point as an entrance to the enemy team. And if you try and walk over and contest the aggressive side, remember that because the vent is so near to this choke point, it's easy for a team to set up a pick bush out of this vent, making it significantly harder to establish lane control in any meaningful way to establish control over both choke points. This holistic way to hold the aggressive choke point is to hold this bush down here in the lane. If you can control it from the bush, you cannot allow people to go from the lane up into the cocoon area. However, you still won't have any meaningful control over the vent that doesn't allow your team to walk in on the aggressive side. In order to assail this vent, you need to check it with spells so that you can make sure that it is available to be walked into for your tank. If you don't check with spells, you're opting into giving the enemy team the advantage in the initiative in the fight. To recap, in order to control the aggressive side vent, you first must establish lane control in the bottom lane and then take the middle bush. After doing this, you can check for the vent side and make sure that there is not a pick set. However, if you do not follow these exact steps, you are risking the lives of your teammates and your gems pushing into the bottom side. Also, this ring here functions as a concentric circle ring of choke point once again, just like the top. So even if you make it into the middle, you're going to find it very difficult to hold this area against heavy AoE focus teams. If you can get into the aggressive side vent, usually the best place to fight is slightly off center of the cocoon over here, where the only small terrain is this pyramid, allowing you to fight in a more open space, provided you're an open space friendly team. If you're trying to assail from the top, make sure that you are assailing from the top side with more than one person, one for vision and one for poke, so that you can actively deny the enemy team from getting gems in. If you only walk in through these seeable choke points with one person, you are going to be easily pushed off of the point by the defenses of the enemy team. A deeper look at Tomb of the Spider Queen. This video was brought to you by Nihilism Gaming. Check them out at nihilismgaming.com, where they offer Heroes of the Storm coaching lessons.